Today's story is Two Little Boys, 10 Big Plagues, written by Carol Craven Bates and illustrated by Jan Church Hopkins. If you would like a copy of this book, there's a link for it in the description. Chapter 6. Everyone in Egypt had their nerves on edge. They worried about what would happen to them next, especially when they saw Moses and Aaron walking toward the palace. The Egyptians knew that would mean trouble for them. They were tired of the plagues and more than willing to have them stop immediately. One morning, after Miko had spent the night with his friend Jalen, the boys went out to the stable. Jalen wanted to brush the pet lamb he was raising for the fall festival. Jalen and Miko were both getting really excited about the soon coming event. Both boys were certain they had the winning animal for their category. Jalen had just started grooming his pet when Qatar came rushing into the shelter. Qatar was shouting that Miko had to come home right away. When Qatar finally caught his breath and could speak clearly, Miko found out his prize steer and 3 of the thoroughbred horses his father was raising were all sick. Mr. Pariah had found them sprawled out in the stable and was unable to get any of them on their feet. Mr. Felu, their nearest neighbor, was called upon to administer his special tonic, but so far it had not taken effect. Qatar was sent to bring Miko home so there would be an extra pair of hands to help take care of the sick animals. Jalen ran into the house to explain to his mother what had happened and to ask permission to go to the home of his friend. Soon, Jalen, Miko, and Qatar were all racing as fast as they could to the Pariah property. The 3 boys arrived at the stable just as Mr. Felu was pouring the second of 2 very large bottles of medicine down the throat of the bull. The helpful neighbor told the boys he would be back the next day. After giving detailed instructions on how to care for the animals, Mr. Felu suggested that Miko and his brother stay up with the animals all night and give them several more bottles of the thick tonic. Jalen stayed with his friends until it started to get dark. At that point, he had to go home. In the meantime, Miko and Qatar made up pallets of straw in the stable. With their beds situated across from the sick animals, they planned to take turns sleeping and taking care of the stock. The next morning, Mr. Felu came back as he had promised. He had been up all night. Animals all over Egypt were sick and thousands had died. The neighbor told Mr. Pariah, Miko, and Qatar, "I've been around animals and taken care of them all of my life, but I've never seen anything to compare with what has been happening in Egypt in the past 2 days. I was called to the palace during the night. Pharaoh has lost a lot of his chariot horses. About 1/4 of his livestock is gone as well. The guards are saying Egypt is experiencing another plague. This time, the epidemic is only affecting the animals. They are calling it murrain. The infected animals either get better or they die within 24 hours. Miko could see that his steer was very weak and wobbly, but it was still alive. One of the horses had also made it and was able to stand for short periods of time. The other 2 horses were not as fortunate. They had died sometime during the night. Mr. Felu had only 1 bottle of tonic left. I saved this bottle for your steer, Miko. I was hoping he would be strong enough to survive. I know you have spent a lot of time keeping him healthy for the festival. I wanted to give him a fighting chance if I could. You can pour this last bottle of tonic down him later this afternoon. Hopefully that big guy will be much better by tomorrow." Mr. Felu patted Miko on the head and turned to walk back home. That same morning, right after breakfast, Jalen ran to the home of his friend. He volunteered to watch over the steer and the remaining horse while Miko and his brother got some sleep. The animals were obviously still very sick, but they had made it until the second day. With constant care, hopefully they would soon be completely healthy again. It took several days for the Egyptians to bury all the dead cattle, horses, donkeys, camels, and oxen that had died during the plague of murrain. The children of Israel were grateful that God had again made a distinction between them and the Egyptians.